Good morning, everyone. This is another session of OLC4O Term 1B. I'm your instructor, Mike Laverty, and today is January 16th, 2023. Hope everybody's doing well out there, enjoying the nice weather. At least it's pretty nice and Sulik out for January. So we are on class number 29. So we've got 2 more weeks to go, and we are working our way through Unit 4. We're going to look at Lesson 18 today, assignment, so it shouldn't be plural, it should be singular, just assignment 42. So we're going to look at one assignment, but it's a longer one, so it requires one class to go over it. So we are in week 8 of classes in Term 1B. Week 9 is the last one. So we're on the second last week, the penultimate week of this class. So I'm hoping to have Unit 4 wrapped up by the end of this week, possibly by tomorrow or the day after, and then we'll have at least a week looking at that final exam / culminating activity. So I've mentioned this before, so that's option number 1, is you will complete a final exam in your community or wherever you are, and option number 2 is a culminating activity, which will be emailed to you. And it's a 4-part assignment that you will complete on your own time. Last day of class is January 26th, so we're getting really close to that date. Only 10 more days away. So, excuse me, I adjust my microphone. Okay, so we have wrapped up units 1, 2, and 3. We almost got Unit 4 out of the way. Like I said, we'll spend, most of Week 8 will be dedicated to that, and then we'll have our last week next week. So hopefully by Thursday we are jumping into the final exam prep and just doing a general overview of the course itself. We'll go back and we'll look at some of the bigger assignments, some of the bigger, the larger ideas that make up this course. We'll go over all those ideas. So I'm sure at this point you've got this part figured out. So the ways that you can interact with the class live from 10 a.m. to 10:55 p.m. If you're watching on YouTube, you can just pause that screen. But of course, it seems that most students are, watching the broadcast videos that are uploaded to the YouTube channel. So that's fantastic. So keep doing that. Keep sharing that. I love to see the views go up. So just search Laverty Wassa. You'll find me on YouTube. Need to start submitting your work. So I know a lot of you are independent learners, and June definitely seems like a long way away, and and of course June is a long way away, but it'll, as the cliche goes, it'll be here before you know it. So you need to start working on your assignments, get them to me, and as I've mentioned a few times in this class, it's really important that you get your work to me ahead of time, and get the work to me in smaller pieces, like 4 or 5 assignments at a time, so I can review what you've read and then give you some feedback, so you can take that and build upon it, make it stronger. So that's how you become a better writer, is by having someone edit your work, and then you go back and then change your work. And then as you progress as a writer, where your writing really takes off is when you start editing stuff from other people. So the more editing you can do, the stronger a writer you're going to be. So the more mistakes you can identify and correct, you just need that practice to do it over and over again. That's what makes you a stronger writer and a stronger reader, because they go hand in hand. So reach out to me as soon as possible if you have any questions about the course, about your assignments, especially about the final exam coming up, culminating activity. If you have any questions about that, just feel free to pick one of those methods on the screen and reach out to me. Best time to do that is, of course, Monday through Friday, 9 till 3. And here's what we should be right now. So you know, 8 weeks into the course, or at least 7 weeks, starting week 8, you should have units 1, 2, and 3 read completely. Assignments 1 through 39 cover units 1 through 3. You should have all those completed. And right now, you should be making a plan for completing assignments 39 and beyond, which are the remainder of the assignments in the course. So 7 weeks into it, that's sort of where you should be. And I know people have a lot going on in their lives. You're busy, you have a lot going on, but if you can, I think it would be good if you can try to commit to like that 9-week, 10-week, get the course done, completed. That way the stuff's fresh in your mind, and you're not kind of going back and reviewing stuff that you read months ago. So it is a lot better if you can complete it quickly. But if you can't, then just do what you can and just get at least some assignments to yourself, to your teacher. All right, so here's today's lesson in a nutshell. We're going to do our images and words of the day. We'll look at today's headline, and then we'll delve into assignment 42, which is not lesson 18. 16. That's lesson 18. So you're going to read a short essay about applying for scholarships and learn how to read a short essay about applying for scholarships and learn how to. There you go. See, that's why you read stuff out loud, because you always catch mistakes. And learn how to conduct your own research into a potential career. Review the writing process to help compose an information paragraph. Right. So in this course, we've looked at journal entries. We've looked at information paragraphs. We've looked at opinion paragraphs, and the purpose of the paragraphs goes back to our three main purposes. Are we informing our reader? Are we entertaining them? Or are we persuading them? So in this one, we are writing an information paragraph. And you'll know you're successful if you can respond to questions about a short essay, write an information paragraph after you research potential career paths. All right, so a couple of images on the day. We've got a young man meeting with the dean of admissions at a college or university. And he says, "I'm sorry, but we don't have athletic scholarships for video games." So that's, kind of a joke, but I could see that becoming a real thing. I know that at least in South Korea, video game players some of them make, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars playing the game. So who knows? We might see that. As a reality in the future. People might actually make money by being a video game player. On the right, so this was a contest that the New Yorker put out. So the New Yorker is a magazine, and they are famous for their one-panel cartoon. In this one, it says, "If Blue no-hit home run, Blue glue scholarship." So that's a one submitted by a fan of the magazine. So. And the joke being here, this is a lot more truer in America, but it happens in the States, where people will get scholarships and they'll get to attend a university because they're really good at a sport, usually football or baseball in America, and they otherwise wouldn't get allowed to go to school, but because they're really good at playing a sport, they get to go to school, they get their tuition paid for. So. And that's why that's funny that you gotta, they've put this caveman on their varsity baseball team. All right, so delving into our words of the day, and today, of course, we're going to be delving into scholarships and bursaries and all that fun stuff. So, on the Anishinaabe-Moan side, we've got Nujitun, which is a verb, which is seek, go after, hunt it. So in the essay we read today, the author is using that metaphor, the metaphor of going for a hunt, for searching something out. And so, of course, we got the English equivalent of hunt, which is to chase or search for game or other wild animals for the purpose of catching or killing, or you've got to make a search or a quest. So a lot of times when you have a word, you'll have the word's literal meaning, and that's what we call a denotation. So a word's denotation is its literal definition. That's, literal means actual. That's what the word hunt really means. But the word hunt has other connotations, and connotations are like related meanings that aren't the literal meaning, but they're close to it. So a hunt can be, you can hunt for a job, you can hunt for a scholarship, and that's when you're making a search for, or when you're questing for something. Metaphors are really powerful tools that we use in the English language, in a lot of languages around the world, and it's really a comparison, right? But it's a comparison, so it's just that lets you think about something in a certain way. Got some other related words on the board. We've got gunawabi is a verb which she or he looks, watches. Nanda wa bojwe is a verb which is she or he hunts for rabbits. So that's a very specific kind of hunting, and that's one of the things I love about indigenous languages, especially Anishinaabe-Moan, where it's very organic and this is why you see so many words in Ojibwe Ojibwe that are so long, and that's because the language allows you to add multiple words to make up like a super word. So it's kind of beautiful how and in that way each word is kind of like a little mini story. And the bottom one we have mitigo akando awen, which is a noun, which is a hunting stand in a tree, right? So matig is a tree. So you see that being used right here, and then this word right here is the hunting stand part of that word. Couple of related English words. We have an inquiry, which is a noun, a seeking a request for truth, information, or knowledge, and a pursuit is an effort to secure or attain a quest. It's also any occupation, pastime, or the like in which a person is engaged regularly or customarily. So that's what we're talking about. You're seeking something out, you're chasing something, you're searching for it, you're hunting. And that's what today's assignment is going to be all about. But before we do that, I just want to jump into our article of the day. So I've got another. This one was actually from it was in the Globe and Mail, but it was originally, I believe it was the Montreal Gazette, which is their largest newspaper. So École Polytechnique announces 2022 Order of the White Rose Scholarship recipient. So we've got Maricela Amador. That's the author. Remember, review some key terms here. That's your byline. An article's byline is just simply who wrote it. Now, this is the Canadian press. So in America, you have the Associated Press. They call it the Associated Press or the AP. And that is a collection of newspapers. And then what they do is they share articles. So sometimes like a local newspaper or like Thunder Bay, for example, or even like Sulikout or Dryden, they can run articles that are part of the Canadian press or part of the Associated Press. They're sort of like a collection of articles that lots of newspapers can publish, and they may have to pay for them. Some of them might be free, but the bottom line is they're allowed to just publish it in their newspaper. But you can't do that unless you acknowledge that it's coming from somewhere else. And this is sort of like when you write a paper or when you write an assignment and you use somebody else's words, then you have to cite those words. You have to provide the source, and that's That's what you're looking at here. That's the source. That's where they got the article from. So there's Sophia Roy. She is the one on the right. She's a Quebec environmental engineering student, poses with Polytechnique survivor Natalie Provost after receiving the Order of the White Rose Scholarship in Montreal on Monday, December 5th, 2022. So we've got a photo credit down here, and this is, of course, our caption. And so, of course, the École Polytechnique is known because it was the place of one of Canada's worst crimes, a mass shooting. But they're trying to take that really awful event, that really tragic event that killed so many people, and trying to make something positive from it. So that's what this article is about. So that's the headline on the board. A lot of nouns in blue, one verb in green, and one adjective in orange. So école, which is of course French for school, it's a polytechnic school. So that taken together is what we call a noun phrase, or a noun phrase, and it's, of course, it's a proper noun because it's a specific school. So it's always capitalized. And what did they do? They announced, or in this case, announces. So that's my verb. And 2022 is an adjective, and we'll see why in a sec. Remember, adjectives are descriptive words that typically only modify nouns or noun phrases. So the 2022 what? So in this case, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, and they all function as a noun, okay? So the Order of the White Rose Scholarship. When I Googled it, sometimes the word S was capitalized in scholarship, sometimes it wasn't, but it all functions as one thing. So sometimes in a sentence you'll have 5 or 6 words, but they're all describing one thing. So the Order of the White Rose Scholarship is one thing. It's one thing you can apply for, and hopefully it's one thing you can win if you're a student going to that school. And then over here is a noun too. Recipient, the person who receives that award. This is the first 3 sentences, the first 3 paragraphs of the article, and I'll just quickly highlight some important things about the article. So this is a topic sentence in lead paragraph. So this is the lead paragraph. It is just simply one sentence, and it does say a lot. So Montreal, remember, so a lot of news reports start with the place in capital letters of where the story takes place. Sometimes you see a date. A Quebec environmental engineering student intent on researching solutions to the global climate crisis is the latest recipient of a $30,000 prize established in honor of the 14 women killed 33 years ago at Montreal's École Polytechnique. So, me personally, I would, a Quebec environmental engineering student. So what I would do is I'd probably put a comma here or a bracket just to break this sentence up a little bit, because they are throwing a lot of information at you. So I personally would put a comma. I would put 2 commas, and so everything right here it's additional information, right? So it's additional info about the student, okay? So usually we put additional info about someone. We separate it by commas or dashes or brackets, and you could simply read the sentence as a Quebec environmental engineering student is the latest recipient of a $30,000 prize. So it's important to know that she's working on climate change, but it is additional info to the fact that she won that she won this prize. Additional key information to support lead paragraph. So again, we have a further explanation. We have her name. We learn that her name is Sophia Roy. She's this year's winner. So apostrophe S. That means something belongs to the year. And what belongs to the year is this year's winner of the White Rose Scholarship, which was established in 2014 to commemorate the victims and survivors of the shooting on December 6, 1981. So there you go. So there we go. We got more additional information about the scholarship. So as I've mentioned, this seems to be the most common pattern with these information pieces, these news reports, is that the author will introduce an idea and then they'll expand upon that idea. And that's really, you know, a large component of what you're doing when you're informing your reader. You're giving them lots of information. You're giving them lots of key terms. You're throwing ideas at them, and then you introduce the idea. So so step one, you introduce the idea, and then step two, you expand upon that idea, right? So you introduce an idea or a concept, and then you expand upon it. And sometimes you do that in the same sentence, or sometimes sentence one introduces an idea, and then sentence two expands upon it. And that way you're not just throwing information at your reader, you're giving them a chance to sort of like take it in, and then you build up your case, you build up your argument, or you support your main idea by expanding upon it, right? So that is a lot of what you're doing as a writer. Here's a quote from the subject of the news report. So it starts off with a quotation mark. So that's the visual cue to the reader. I know that what I'm about to read is not the author of the article. What I'm about to read is somebody else's words. I am so honored to be part of the Order of the White Rose. I will always try to be faithful to the mission and the responsibilities that come with it. It's really a big day for me, comma. Roy, 23, said in an interview before the ceremony, right? So you've got the quote itself. We've got a comma that comes before the quotation mark. And then we have what we call the speaker tag. Sometimes called the slug. And that tells us who said it. It tells us who said it, and sometimes it tells us, when they said it or how they said it. In this case, we have the who, Sophia Roy, and we have the when. We know that she said it before the ceremony, and we even know the how. She said it in an interview. And then right here, that's some additional information right there. That's some more additional info. The fact that she's 23 is not really critical to understanding the article, but it's nice to know. It tells us that she's a fairly young woman who's just starting what looks to be a pretty promising career as an environmental engineer. Okay, so we started this on Thursday, but didn't really delve into it that deeply, so I want to devote a solid, almost half an hour to it today. So it's assignment 42. We are demonstrating understanding / identifying resources. So part A is you're reading an article entitled A Guide to Scholarships, Awards, and Applications by Rob Taylor, and then you're answering questions that follow. Be sure to use complete sentences, right? So when you're answering the questions, you are not writing in point form. This is full sentences. Let's have a look at the questions before we read the article together, okay? So use your own words to explain why Rob Taylor, who did not receive any money when he was going through school, has taken the time to write this article. 8 marks. List the steps Rob suggests in order Sorry, list the steps Rob suggests in order and give a brief explanation of each step. Do you think you will use Rob's advice in this article? Why or why not? 2 marks. Okay, so with that in mind, I will pull up that article. Let's just find that here. Unit 4. And we started reading this yesterday. I believe we got through the first page of the article. So we've got to keep in mind, so you got to think, will you use this advice? What steps are being taken, are listed by Rob, and and then why did he write this article? Given the fact that he himself did not apply for scholarships when he was a student. All right, so we read the first part of the article where Rob talks about being a student at University of Toronto in Ryerson. So he didn't apply for scholarships because he wasn't a brilliant enough student to be automatically chosen for a scholarship. And then we found out that he's graduated from school and he works as a senior editor at Edge Interactive. And this website is designed to gather content and oversee content from websites like schoolfinder.com, myschool101.com, and scholarshipscanada.com. So what he does is he looks after the scholarship. Over 60,000 individual awards awarded by over 300 organizations across Canada. Each year, let's go to the next page here. How do I do that again? Oops. Don't want to do that. Nope. What is happening here? There we go. Okay. So each year we compile all the scholarships in our database that are for students who are already in or who are going into their first year of college or university and publish them in the scholarshipscanada.com entrance award directory. So basically, I am a guy who has read, written, and edited information on thousands of different scholarships. I've also talked to hundreds of students about helping them with their scholarship searches and written several articles published on our site and in the directory dealing with scholarships, grants, and loans. What I hope the article will do is to fill you in on the things I've seen and heard in the hunt for scholarships so you will be better armed than I was. And that's like a central theme that a lot of books have, and a lot of people have, actually, because like I've been through this. I struggled with this, so I did my research and made my life better, and now you can too, right? So it's someone who's been there, done that, and they could just say, well, whatever, I did it. They can struggle too. They say, no, I'm gonna dedicate my life to making sure that other people don't struggle the way that I struggled, and they can take what I have learned. So know your armory. It's important to know what you have in the way of strengths. The majority of scholarships are still based on grades, but some administrators are starting to look for other attributes in students as well. To know what you can get from a scholarship, you have to know what you have. So you're taking a self-assessment. So do you participate in extracurricular activities? Do you participate in school events? Do you get involved in sporting events? Do you help out your community? Do you work on a student council? Do you volunteer anywhere? Have you ever been in a play, worked on a farm, run for office, been on an exchange program, grown vegetables, written a play? So this is like these are the most interesting things about you, right? The things that make you different. So anything that makes you different to scholarships is important. So sit down with your family and think about it. Make a list. You might even want to run through your day. Something that seems routine to you might seem extraordinary to somebody else. So that's really good advice, right? So get advice from your family, and then do some pre-planning. Write down a list of all the things that make you interesting. So know your armory, know what you've got already, know what your resources are. So before you start the search, you should start your search for scholarships close to home. So, does the company your parents work for, do they offer any scholarships? It's been my experience that some companies offer scholarships to employees or children of employees and choose not to advertise outside the company. I don't know where to recommend checking with companies because each one is different. So, look to your family and who they work for. Do your parents belong to a union or some other organization? So, yeah, who do your parents work for? Who are they affiliated with? Who's in your family? Who can hook you up with some kind of a connection? Think about veterans. Are members of your family veterans or children of veterans? Sometimes veteran associations give out a good chunk of scholarships. Maybe your parents belong to a club or a lodge that has scholarships. So look into the activities you're involved with. Make a list of possible sources of money to go after, like a work or a club. So sometimes high schools offer awards. Um, so here's some stats to break up what I've just written. So to prove that I've learned something from my professors and instructors, let me back up what I've said in the last two sections with some facts. So in the 2004 version of this scholarship, there were 7,633 individual scholarships. You can read some various associated stats that go along with that. Just for time, I'll start kind of paraphrasing this. So prepare ahead of time. So and that's pretty good because you've got to be prepared and to sort of know what you're looking for. Um, you know, know what you're looking for. Be on top of deadlines. Even if you're not going to start school next year, you can start looking for bursaries now. So that means you may not be able to apply for them because you're not in a program, but bottom line is there's money out there, and you got to know what kind of you got to understand that there's money out there, and if you did a bit of searching, you might get some money coming your way. When I was in university, we had our first child, my wife and I, our boy Isaac, and one of my professors said, like, why aren't you applying for bursaries and scholarships? Some of them are about being a parent, and I had no idea. And she directed me to a website, and then I put in maybe 2-3 hours of work, and then I think we had a couple $1,000s come our way. And because there's not a lot of students who have kids, and I was one of the few, so I got that money, I got that scholarship, and didn't take too much work on my part. So, basically you're just looking, and then once you find something, then you prepare an application. So you do an initial search, you isolate some bursaries you want to apply for, and then just like a job application or a resume, you are looking at your spelling, your grammar, your sentence structure. Very important to any kind of scholarship application. If it's done right, then it's pretty cool. But most people aren't good enough writers to do it well, and it comes off sounding awkward and weird. So try to keep it simple. Through a couple of appropriate, elegant words are always nice. Plus, if you keep it simple, you get to say more. This is my opinion. It could depend on who your audience is, right? So, but I think the author of the article is making a really good point, and I think sometimes when people start taking courses, either high school English courses or college and university courses, they think they have to elevate their language. They have to sound like they know what they're talking about, and sometimes that gets you into trouble. And if you can say something simply using simple words, that's fine, right? You don't have to use the $10 word. That's a phrase. I can't remember who said that, but don't use a $10 word if a $1 word works just fine, right? So just keep it simple. Say what you want to say. Don't impress people with your word choice. Impress them with your message. Impress them with you. So just express who you are as clearly and as simply as you can. And try to think of a scholarship application kind of like a letter. So we've looked at resumes and cover letters in this course. So, what makes you deserving for this award more than anybody else? Same way like when you apply for a job, what makes you the best candidate? Why should they not hire somebody else, and why should they focus on you? Organize your thoughts. Take the time to figure out who will be reading the letter. If possible, address the letter to them. directly. So looking at those questions, using your own words, explain why this man, Rob Taylor, who didn't receive any scholarships when he went to school, why is he taking the time to read the article? So if you look at the structure of the article, the first third or the first quarter of it, the first page and a half, is Rob Taylor giving you his life story, right? So if we go back and look at this article, it's this first part and a little bit of here. But once you get into Know Your Armory, that part's over. So the answer to the first question is going to be found in the first page and a half. Okay, so focus your efforts there. That's where you're going to find those answers, right, in the first page and a half. The second question, list the steps Rob suggests in order. So list them in order and give a brief explanation of each step. So he's written this as a information article. He's giving us information, but if you were to condense this down to a step-by-step list, what are the steps you're going to take? And again, though, that starts up here with Know Your Armory, right? So that's his first step, Know Your Armory. Then he gets into know what your resources are, and then we prepare ahead of time. So if you look, you've got those steps bolded. He's put them in bold, for a reason, right? So, but don't just simply write out the bolded heading. Give a brief explanation of each step, right? So write down the step. You can use his wording or you can rephrase it. So list the step in order. So list it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then give a brief explanation of each step. So that can just be a sentence or two. And then the last part is, do you think you will use Rob's advice in the article? Why or why not? So that's very straightforward. Just be honest with your answer. If you don't think you'd use the advice, that's totally fine. But tell me why. Why wouldn't you use that advice? Seems like pretty good advice, but why wouldn't you use that advice? What path would you choose? And if you feel that you would take his advice, then just simply explain, why you would take that advice. All right, so that is pretty straightforward there, and then we'll jump back into our lesson here. So we've looked at these three questions. And then if we jump into part B, now you have to choose any career of interest to you and list 3 reasons why you might want to pursue it. All right? So the first part of the question is talking about bursaries and scholarships, but it's very similar to conducting a job hunt, right? So list any career of interest you want and list 3 reasons why you might want to pursue it. So that's simple, right? So just choose anything that you might want to do and 3 reasons why you might want to pursue it. You can use the internet for examples. So that's careerprocanada.ca, jobbank.gc.ca, careers.indigenous.link. For the purposes of this assignment, you may copy or print some information you find and simply highlight the requirements, include any qualifications, courses, grade requirements, any other important information. And then use the internet or any other resource available to you, including your teacher, to find information about a scholarship or bursary that you may be able to apply for within your chosen career in mind. Hint, use the words Indigenous plus Ontario plus scholarships in a search to find out just how much money there is out there for you as you continue your journey in education. Print off or copy the information you will need to apply for the scholarship or bursary. If there is an application form, include that as part of your research, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to print out pages, and then you can have those pages mailed from your learning center, or faxed or emailed. So you're either printing stuff off from the internet, or if you're submitting your work through email, 100% digitally, then you can copy what's on the page, and then maybe I'll do a little brief tutorial on that to talk about how we can do that. So what I'll do is I'll start another share here, and we'll go to all right. So let's do the so this is jobbank.gc.ca. So we've got the nice thing about doing a Google search is that Google will often, it'll show you the name of the web page right here. So this is jobbank.gc.ca, but they'll also break down some of the pages on that website, right? So we've got job search, temporary foreign workers, browse jobs. I'm going to look at Ontario jobs. So when you search for something, there's usually two general approaches you take to it. Either you know what you want to find and you search for it, or you just see what's there, and then you kind of break it down from there. So let's find something a little closer to home. Let's see what's happening in Thunder Bay. And then we've got, here's our available jobs. There's usually a way to kind of whittle this down and to get, there we go, type of job. Let's see, we got student jobs, apprentice jobs, internships, exclude student jobs. So let's take, let's take the environmental theme. Let's go with that. So we've got, I'm assuming that's what green jobs mean. Well, look at that. We've got a donut baker right here in Sioux Lookout, Ontario. Let's find a different way to organize those search results. Let's go back. Here, let's look at Dryden a little bit closer. All right, so okay, so let's look at security guard. And so if this is something that I'm interested in, then a lot of websites actually have like a print option, and if you hit that print option, it'll turn this into a printable version that you can then print to a printer. If you go up to destination, and instead of sending it to a printer, you can save it as a PDF. That's a really important tool you can use. Then you can save it, and you can save it to your desktop, and now you've got a PDF file ready to go. Alternatively, you can just simply right-click on the screen, and after you've right-clicked on the screen, you can go to print, and then you want to print it and save it as a PDF. Or if you got a printer ready to go, you can just simply print it. But that's a nice way you can do that. You can print that thing as a PDF, or just simply save it to your desktop. And if you can't do that, if you look on your keyboard, you might see a print screen option, and you can print the screen and then copy and paste it. That takes a little bit more work, but there's many ways you can do that, right? So look for the job, and then so list 3 jobs that you want, why you want the job, and then you're looking into some scholarships. And of course, that's, if we just Google Canadian scholarships, we've got Scholarships Canada, which was mentioned in the article. We've got studentawards.com, educanada.ca. So you've got tons of websites, right? So you just gotta Youth of Canada. So you've got tons of websites to start exploring. If we take the advice of the article and we change it to, let's try that suggested search. So we got Indigenous. I'm spelling Indigenous wrong. Where am I? Canadian Indigenous scholarships. That's going to give us some more. I've got a Indigenous bursaries search tool, 8 scholarships for Indigenous students in Canada. So there are a lot of options, right? So if we just take this one, for example, and you see when it was published, that's always critical when you're doing your research, right? So when you're doing online research, you want to pay attention to who's writing the article, what website is this. Grantme.ca, I'm not really familiar with it, but it's good to see who's publishing it, when did they publish it, right? We probably don't want to be looking at stuff from 5, 6, 8 years ago. We want to take the most current information. So this is actually nice, right? We've got the RBC Scholarship, Canada Post Awards for Indigenous students. We've got the Canada Post Award for Indigenous students, so that's $2,000 for Indigenous peoples who have renewed their educational learning. So that's kind of perfect, right? So if you've been out of school for a year or more and you're going back, right? So that's a great award, right? So some of these scholarships and bursaries are for people who are actively engaged as students. They are doing lots right now, but it looks like some of them are people who are just getting back in the game. So you have to do an application form. You got to write an essay. So for the purposes of this assignment, I don't expect you to write essays or complete application forms. Again, you're just printing them off, including them with your research, sending it to your DEC or to myself. So either just print it off, take a picture of it, do a screen capture, whatever the case may be. You're just gathering up your research. We've only got 5 minutes left. I want to jump back into this, right? So just to recap, part 1, and you can't go wrong here, right? Just pick any career, singular, find one career. Give me 3 reasons why you want to pursue that, why you'd want to put the effort in to apply for that job, to get the training for it. And then you are using the internet you can copy and print some information you find and simply highlight. And this is information about your career. So for step 2, you're putting in job posts, and that job post usually talks about qualifications, courses, grade requirements, so any other information, right? So just do some research. This part doesn't require any writing on your behalf. You're just simply doing research. Find me as much information as you can, and just show me that you've looked for information on that career, right? So just give me a bunch of examples about job postings for that chosen career. Same with this part 3, right? You're just using the internet to find information about a scholarship or a bursary. So again, you're not filling out the application, you're not writing the essay. All you're doing is just gathering information about that job and then just include it. So just find 2 or 3 scholarships or bursaries that you could potentially apply to in your search to make some money. And then part C, we'll come back to this tomorrow. But part C is where, so remember, in part B, you're answering the questions about the article and you're gathering up your research. But in part C, now you're shifting into doing some writing. So in part C, you're writing an information paragraph. So use the information that you have gathered in part B, as well as the information from Rob Taylor's article, to write an information paragraph on how to apply for a scholarship or bursary for your chosen field. So that is really important, right? So you have to, there has to be, in part B, the bursaries and the scholarships you pick, they have to be somehow related to the chosen field that you pick. And by chosen field, we mean the job that you pick, right? So it has, excuse me, there has to be a relationship. So you're writing an information paragraph, so one paragraph. That paragraph needs to begin with a topic sentence that explains the main findings of your research. You need at least 4 supporting details that support your topic sentence. And those supporting details will be descriptions of the research you found, of the articles you found, the job postings, the website articles about the scholarships, all that. You need to cite at least 2 sources of information. We'll go over that tomorrow. You need to write a conclusion for your information paragraph. Of course, you have to revise and edit it before preparing your final version. And then use the checklist and rubric below to check out your or to guide your writing. So when we join again tomorrow morning, we will focus entirely upon you writing this information paragraph and how you can take the research that you gathered in part B and then use some of the information from Rob Taylor's article. And then we're going to look about how we can take that information and how we can use it to compose an information paragraph. So I'm hoping that answered some questions about the first 2 parts of assignment 42. And as you see, it's a long one. So we'll finish off assignment 42 tomorrow, and then we'll jump into assignment 43. That is the final assignment of OLC4O. And then after that, we have to start talking about the literacy portfolio, which is you gathering up all your work and reflecting upon it. But more on that tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and we'll pick this up tomorrow.